Hello beautiful souls and welcome to my channel. Welcome back to those of you who are returning to the channel. Today's pick a card reading will be focusing on past lives and specifically your ancient past lives. So we're going to see where you've had incarnations, why you chose to incarnate in those places, what were your lessons, how is your current life still connected to this past life, why is it important that you know about this past life, and anything else that wants to come through. So we're going to do a meditative exercise so you can choose your piles intuitively and train your psychic gifts. So I did it on a recent video and I just realized I love doing this, so I think I'm gonna keep up with this and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's begin the intuitive selection. Prepare to close your eyes and prepare to have a little bit of silence around you. So maybe you want to put on your headphones or earphones or something if you were in a room with other people, or maybe you want to go someplace where you can be alone. So let's begin. I'm gonna give you a visual for each pile. Now you're going to know this visual corresponds to this pile, but the purpose of the exercise is not to pick the visual without knowing the pile. The purpose is to see which visual, therefore which pile, resonates with you the most. And these visuals are inspired by the imageries on the cards. Of course, for those of you who don't want to do this, you can just pause the video, take a look at the cards and pick a pile for yourselves. But I know that many of you would love this intuitive exercise, so let's get into it. For pile number 1, you have a change in the wind card. So with this card, the visual that I want you to really conjure up in your mind's eye is a leaf, but imagine how this leaf is withering with time and it's becoming, dry, and the green is turning orange. That is the visual. Now these visuals are gonna be like little pictures and motions, so it's not just a symbol that you're going to be imagining. The leaf is green, it's fresh, new and lively, but time passes by and it rapidly becomes dry and withered and orangey or brownish. Okay, so round number 1, I want you to maybe do this a couple of times, or maybe slow down the process, really focus on how the brown expands and replaces the green of the leaf. Take your time with this visual, do it a couple of times if you want to, and when you're ready, you can move on to the second pile, which is the Here and Now card. For this pile, I want you to picture a stained glass window of a church, and you can picture a saint, flowers, patterns, geometric patterns, whatever fits your cup of tea. Just a stained glass window. It doesn't matter what colors you picture, just imagine it, but imagine it that it opens into, like, there are two wings kind of that window that open, and when that window opens, through it flows in this golden bright light that is almost blinding. Imagine it illuminating your entire third eye, and your entire mind's eye and your mind's landscape is filled up with light. So this is gonna be pile number 2. Pile number 3, you have Truth Be Told. Now I want you to imagine that you have a mask on. This is more of a first POV type of visual because you are in it and part of it. You have this golden mask on, as you can see here on the card. I want you to feel how this mask sits on your face, where its cold texture touches your skin, and I want you to imagine how you touch that mask, your fingers sense the smoothness of the gold, the cold feeling to that it leaves to the touch, and you're taking off that mask very slowly. You're peeling it off your face, and your face immediately starts to warm up after you take off the mask. Okay, let's go through it again. So you're wearing this mask, and wherever it touches your skin, it's cold. The mask is very smooth, made out of gold, but as you touch it and you take it off, your face starts to warm up. So you can take a little bit more time with this one, because I really want you to imagine the sensations as well, so you can be really immersed in this visual. And the final pile number 4, with the ┬Ād, I want you to imagine you're holding a telescope, but maybe a very thin, small one, and you're putting your eye through the hole, right? And you're looking outside, and here it's up to you. What do you see through the telescope? What is it that you see? Is it the sky? Is it the horizon? Is it another eye watching through it? What is it? Is it like a scroll filled with letters? Whatever it is, that's up to you. But now that you've gone through all the visuals, you can do them a couple of times if you want to, but once you're done, I want you to ask yourself, which one did you resonate with the most? Which visual felt most comfortable, most familiar to you, closest to you, and which one did feel like, oh yeah, this is where I'm going to find the answers about my past lives? Like, this visual whispered my name. It whispered to me that this is where the answers lie for me. So once you really clear that up, we're going to go pile number 1, a change in the wind, pile number 2, here and now. So the leaf, the stained glass window, truth be told, pile number 3 with the mask visual, and pile number 4 with ┬Ād, the telescope. So this is all I have for you as of now. You can go, and in the comment section below I will have the timestamps posted, also in the description box at the end of it, so you can go and click on your pile and get right into your reading. I will see you there. Hello pile number 1, and welcome to your reading. So if you guys chose a change in the wind, the first pile, or you visualized and the leaf really resonated with you, this is going to be your reading. Now I'm going to first do a quick interpretation and like intuiting this card, and then I'm going to start pulling other cards. So with this card, what I feel is that the incarnations were tuning in today for you. Those past lives took place somewhere where nature started to rebel, or nature started to get hectic. I'm definitely sensing like some sort of natural disaster, catastrophe that you've been through in this past life. Something else also with a change in the wind, I'm getting like this cultural change. You lived in a time where it was very dynamic, and maybe new tribes and new people were coming to your land. There was a new religion invading your land, or things like that. I'm just getting that you had to adapt in order to survive. That's like the theme of this past life. You had to adapt in order to survive, and to a degree you're terrified of nature, and I'm getting nature gods, so any god or deity connected to the oceans, the forests, the wind. So there is this, I'm feeling this deep respect for these natural deities, and even in your current incarnation, you may really resonate with gods and deities that rule over the natural phenomenon, or just nature in general. But for some reason, with this little tower-esque looking structure, I'm getting a warning. You received warnings about incoming disasters, or potentially incoming other tribes that colonized your land, installed themselves in your land, attacked your people, attacked you, etc. But I'm getting that you learned how to blend in, you learned how to adapt. You had to be a quick thinker to do all of this. So in your current chart, you may have lots of Gemini and Aries placements, or dominant Mercury placements. So Virgo, Aries, Gemini, These are the signs I'm getting strongly for you guys, especially with Aries. Aries are quick thinkers, and they can really think on their feet, and they're really good at survival. Aries placements know how to survive, so you would call them street smart. They could have been very well read as well, but they definitely have the street smart streak inside them. So this is something I see you've inherited from your past lives: how to survive, how to adapt, how to befriend the enemy or appease the enemy, and even like this ability to pretend enough so that you can survive the situation. I'm definitely getting, it's possible here you lived through the changes of religion, and you had to almost like worship two different pantheons, or bow to two different religions at the same time. Alright, I'm gonna put it here. Now, I'm going to pull from the Sacred Sites Oracle cards. I'm using this deck purely because it has many different locations, so it doesn't have to be necessarily you were reincarnated right next on that sacred site that will show up inevitably, but more so the location, the country, that area. This is what we're focusing on, and of course I'll be taking the messages connected to the sacred sites as well and interpreting them how they fit your past lives. But just a disclaimer, if we see the pyramids of Giza, maybe you weren't necessarily reincarnated right there next to the pyramids, but maybe nearby, close, North Africa or something. So to be honest with you, I'm getting Venice, like that landmark, if you will, that territory, that area. So around Italy. Let's see. Where did those ancient past lives took place? We have the Vatican. Well, yep, Italy. Okay, very, very interesting. Of course, Venice is a different location from Rome, but still, that's why I told you that area. We're generalizing a little bit. And with the Vatican, of course, we have religion, and we have that moment when the Roman Empire adopted Christianity, but they still had their pantheon. So I think you were reincarnated around that time in Rome, when indeed they still had their pantheon of gods, but they were adopting Christianity from the East. Oops, too many cards. Okay. Of course, I'm trying to focus on one past life, right? But because this is a collective reading, I may name a couple of locations and a couple of possible past lives. Okay, so keep that in mind. You may resonate with all of them or one of them. What else? What else have the people from Power 1 been incarnated? Right. 𝔸₃ Cliffs. I need to see where this is because geography is not my strong element. The structure is very interesting, by the way. It's almost like, I don't know, this reminds me of some like alien planet type of housing. Alright, and we have Newgrange. Is that correct? Newgrange, okay. Alright. So, let's see. This is the south. there we go. The energy focus of this secret site is identity. The location is ᵗᵱ. I'll be very honest with you, I have no idea where this is, so please look it up. I'm so sorry, I must be the worst reader. Alright, so the energy focus is identity. Okay, and I want to see where this is. This must be England, Ireland, around that area. And yes, I know that Ireland is separate from the English island. So let's see, this is north. County Meath, Ireland. The energy focuses illumination. Okay, interesting. So this, I think, really connects with the first message I got for you. You were born during the time of religions changing, having to adopt a new religion. But these two cards are different, and in particular, I'm not very well acquainted with them, so I'm going to have to read about them really quick. You can always fast forward if I'm too slow. Alright, so the past of this secret site, and this is what we need, really, the past, because we need to see what past lives you had. How often have your accounts of visions or unusual experiences been ignored or ridiculed? Have you ever been shunned, medicated, or even hospitalized because you voiced these? Well, the Dogon shrines of the Dogon, this must be North America. Well, the Dogon shrines of the Bandiagara cliffs tell you that your experiences are real. You are neither crazy nor stupid. The story of the Dogon people of Mali may go back more than 50,000 years to the time when their ancestral gods, the Nomo, represented on this card by the fish-tailed symbol, are said to have descended from the sky in what sounds like a spaceship amid thunder and fire. What stories about your origins and past have made you what you are today? Here in this lower world reside all the visions, dreams, and memories that shape your identity. If you have been making your true self from the world for fear, if you have been masking your true self from the world for fear of rejection and persecution, be aware that the Dogon use masks not to hide what's within, but to accentuate a particular asset or quality. So, okay, this is interesting. We have alien spaceship landing, their gods landing. So I told you there could have been some kind of like catastrophe or natural disaster or something that you considered as such. And I spoke a few really respecting nature gods, right? So it's possible some of you had a past life in the Dogon tribes, and you were someone who could get visions, channel, and I feel like you predicted these beings descending. So we're talking about a very ancient lifetime, right? And if you're new to my channel, here we believe aliens are real. So just saying, but yeah, so what I'm getting here is that you channeled that your gods would arrive, and they did. And their arrival felt like a natural disaster. I feel like it left an imprint on nature that you later had to adapt to. Of course, we're going to ask more about each of these cards, each like lifetime, right? And we have Newgrange, which I'm going to read just now. The energy focus of this sacred site is illumination. The lower world, past. Question what lies beneath. Deep in the mound of the Newgrange Passage tomb are buried the ᵗᵉ, the supernatural beings that once defended the Emerald Isle. These are the tribal people of Danu, the Irish mother goddess, who were known as the Shining Ones. For their safety, Danu had them taken underground into the side or ᵜᵱᶜᵏ fairy mounds, of which ┸╗ was the most important, and transformed them into what we know as leprechauns. The battles in those times of gods and giants saw the old world destroyed and the founding of a new one. The old world exists now within other realms, watching, assisting, and very much alive. Go on that world for the light of truth, to shine through the darkness of your past. Contemplate this card and visualize yourself picking up the sword of ᵜᵃ, king of the ᵜᵃ, and wearing the crown that lies among the bones of the ancestors. Ask for understanding of your past and of what underlies any difficulties that you're experiencing in the present. It's funny because right here, I'm not sure if the camera will, hold on, let me, right here, okay, it's not zooming in really, it's not focusing, but there's a little fairy, okay, and that fairy, I think, connects right here with the fairy folklore of Ireland, with ᵘᵃ. I know about them, and they're very, very interesting to read about. I mean, I know little about them, but they're very interesting to read about. So it's interesting to have the fairies coming through, and again we have these gods showing up here on that sacred site, and how the gods basically their war with the Titans destroyed the place, their world, and they had to retreat into spiritual realms and watch the new world emerge when they were already gone from the land. So it's possible you had an ancient Irish lifetime, and you worked closely with the fairies, and again with natural spirits, because fairies are so connected to nature. I'm gonna read about the present as well. ┸╗'s great entrance stone is engraved with many spirals, including the interlocked triple spiral of the ┸╗, said to represent the triple goddess, maiden, mother, crone of earth, sea, and sky. But where did this symbol come from? It may be our ancestors carved spirals into stone to record what they had seen, perhaps in the heavens, and not understood. Could it be that they grasped an idea that we are rediscovering now, that we follow the circle of life, death, and rebirth, becoming a little different each time around? Or does this symbol represent a portal to other worlds, left as a clue by the Shining Ones? Remember, not all at ┸╗ is what it seems. The burial chamber, built over 5,000 years ago, may have been a place of worship, of ceremony, of connecting to the skies, or even to other worlds. Try using the ┸╗ as a basis for a drawing, painting, carving, or other artwork that you can then meditate on or view as an inspiration. Let it guide you as you step through the shadows of doubt and untruths into the realm of self-knowledge. So this tells me that in those past lives, you really worked with nature spirits, trying to contact the gods from this other realm. So both here and here, there's a common thread where you communicated with the gods beyond your own realm in order to inform yourselves about the present, in order to inform yourselves about what's happening to your world and to nature. I feel like you were definitely going through some kind of invasion or natural disaster, and you had to consult your own gods. All right. So we have an incarnation in ancient Rome, an incarnation among the Dogon tribes, and an incarnation in Ireland. Now I'm going to try to be focused, so I'm going to look at this as one lifetime, alright? And when particular messages resonate with one of these cards, one of these places, I will mention it. But overall, it will sound as if I'm talking about one lifetime, because I don't want to be too distracted by too many things. I want to focus here, so let's do this. What do you need to know about your ancient incarnations? What happened during those ancient incarnations? Why did you reincarnate during those times? And how are you still connected? to those reincarnations. Spirituality and religion. This is just like an extra confirmation. Food and hunger. I feel like, especially with natural disasters here, it's possible that you went hungry for a long time. It's possible that the land did not feed you as it should have. It's also possible you were hungry for wisdom, for illumination, for identity, enlightenment. Oh, right. Greco-Roman and biblical, well, that really fits the picture. I'm always surprised when the cards align with each other so specifically. Alright, so here I definitely think you were somewhat of a shaman, a druid, something like this. But here in that Greco-Roman lifetime, in ancient Rome especially, what did you do? What was your occupation, let's say? We have the Page of Swords. Alright. With Page of Swords, you were a student. I feel like you were a student, and I feel like you were practicing some sort of asceticism. Now, I'm not entirely sure when Rome adopted Christianity, if, you know, like the priests or the monks were into ascetic practices, but I feel like you practice this I feel like you denied yourself certain things for spiritual enlightenment. It's possible that you cut yourselves off of your family, like you stopped talking to them, or you left them in another city to travel away for the spiritual enlightenment. A religion took you away from every pleasure in life, really. I see that you were a student, a very diligent one, and I see that you were one of the few people, especially in that Roman reincarnation in ancient Rome, you were one of the few people who, and it's interesting because I'm not getting that you were rich, right? That you were part of the elite society in order to write and read and be educated. You got your education otherwise. I think you really accessed it through devotion, through religion. But as you see that you were educated, you could write and read, and that was very important for you. I feel like you came from a family of builders, family of maybe not architects, but like the people who actually went and did the job, right? Who actually built the structures. I think that you came from a poor family. Who were you in that past life? So you were willing to sacrifice a lot for education, and you were willing to adapt almost because like these higher powers had access to knowledge. They were offering you something you couldn't have on your own. And I feel like many of you switched religions just to have access to knowledge and literacy. I feel like for many of you, your parents still believed in the gods, but you started to believe either in those new gods or you started to believe in Christianity. Like you switched, you made this big change and transition in the family line. So that could be karma today. You may have a lot of Uranus placements. You may have Uranus in Sagittarius. You may have Uranus in the 9th house. But you're someone who brings abrupt change when it comes to faith, beliefs, and religion for the sake of higher knowledge. So you may have very unconventional belief systems right now, and if you're watching this channel, you most likely do. But I mean, in comparison to your family, you may have very unconventional beliefs, and that is almost this karma. Like your soul is a bringer of change, but you work that specifically through the branch of religion and faith. You know, some people bring change when it comes to the financial situation of a family, things like that. You do it in the education and faith of a family lineage. So you may be born to either very religious people, parents, and in a family line, or to atheists and scientists. But with your Uranus, whatever the status quo is of how your family perceives religion, you are here to disrupt that, because you're here to illuminate and expand the minds of people, just as you're very hungry to expand your own mind during those ancient times. And you had to adapt because you knew that there was something you really, really wanted, and you were willing to change yourself and turn your back on your roots for improvement. Okay, so one flaw for some of you, especially if you have Uranus in the 9th, even Uranus in the 4th house, by the way, or the 4th house in Sagittarius, you may be someone who does not like to associate themselves with their bloodline and with their ancestors, because you feel like it holds you back. Ever since this past life, you realized that you have to make your own decisions when it comes to faith, culture, intellectual pursuits. You can't rely on being given those things by your family. You have to earn those things for yourself. You have to make it happen for yourself. It's possible that you, in your current lifetime, and this is like the karma you still carry from this lifetime and the repetitive pattern, it's possible that you were the ones who had to pay for your own education if you wanted to get an education. Like, you really had to fight for higher knowledge, okay? I want to clarify these lifetimes here. These lifetimes here feel a little bit more magical, and I'm not gonna lie, a little bit more ancient. So, hold on. I want to see which deck I want to use. What happened during your lifetimes among the Dogon tribes, the Dogon people? By the way, as far as I remember, it was the Dogon tribes that spoke of Sirius and the ancestors from Sirius. So some of you may have Sirius starseed origins. spouse. Okay, I need to know about these past lives. Resurrection and persecution and inquisition. All right. I feel like those of you who had lifetimes among the Dogon tribes, you had one ancient lifetime where you carried the knowledge and the tradition about the ancestors from the stars, but you had, let's say, a more, still old, but more recent lifetime where you were born during colonization. Some of you, I'm getting betrayal from your own spouse because of different religious values or even political values or something. Who were you among the Dogons? What was your life then? We have the Pentacles, Two of Pentacles. A man and a woman jumping into different whirlpools, but being connected nevertheless. You have a karmic contract with this spouse of yours that persecuted you or betrayed you for different religious backgrounds, beliefs, or something like that. You have a contract to probably be with this person again and find a way to reconnect despite such differences. Tell me more about this situation, Spirit. Tell me more about this situation. Tell me more about this contract, this soul contract from a past life. It is possible that you were married off to a colonizer. That's very, very possible. I know this can be triggering for some of you, so please proceed with this reading with caution and don't watch if it's something that offends you too much or, you know. Alright, but I definitely think you were involved romantically, physically, and therefore karmically with someone of a different religious background. And I feel like this person swept you off your feet, but then betrayed you. And we have the Strength card where you thought you could change this person. And I really feel like in that lifetime, even if you're a man now, I feel like in that lifetime, you guys, whoever resonates with this, you were a woman and this person was a man. And I'm getting that you believed you could change him, you could tame him, tame the beast, just as he believed he could tame the wild side of you. But both of you were wrong, and this ended up really badly for the two of you. I feel like you have a contract in this lifetime. This person may have lots of earth placements and air placements. I'm getting someone who really wants to control, someone who really wants to have the last word, to have a say in everything in your life, or maybe they wanted that if this is someone that you met but they're already part of your past. And for some reason, I know these are like accessories and just sandals and things like that, but these look like ropes or snakes wrapped around her. So many of you guys, I feel like this is karma from these past lives. Through a romantic relationship, you entered a den of snakes, like their entire family, their friends, were people who really tried to turn you into someone you're not. And you really had to have the strength to escape from this and find your own freedom again, find your own independence. Independence of thought is very important for you, pile 1. And now I want to clarify more about this magical incarnation with the ᵘᵃ, with the fairies, with the Ireland gods and goddesses. This is about my witches watching this. I feel like this, especially for those of you who have some Nordic, Irish, English lineage. I feel like those of you who resonate with this lifetime, you continued to reincarnate in the genetic lineage of your people. So maybe not the exact direct line of ancestors, but you reincarnate genetically carrying the codes of those people, of the Irish people specifically. So if you have like these kinds of genes, I think that you will really resonate with this card, because I'm sensing this bloodline connection here, like genetic connection here. This is because souls can reincarnate across cultures, across lands, right? But some souls really like one culture, one land, one people. They really resonate with it, and they reincarnate multiple times in that tribe, in that people. And I feel like if you resonate with this card and with Ireland as a past life location, you're one of those people, with those souls who reincarnate among the same groups, the same genetic lineages. Wow, okay, we have the Ace of Swords. This is very interesting that we have the Ace of Swords. And we have the Nine of Cups. Let's see. We have a maze and we have the sword. Okay. Oh, this was an abundant lifetime, is what I'm getting. This was a lifetime where you felt blessed by the gods and goddesses. And with the Ace of Swords, I'm getting that you were, in a way, a keeper of truth. Alright? A keeper of knowledge. Only you could navigate through the teachings, the lore, the knowledge of your people. You were one of the few people who could navigate it. So again, we have this intellectual pride that you carried with yourself. I feel like you're someone who would advise royals or leaders because you have the knowledge to do that. What about this lifetime? What do you need to know about this lifetime? We have the letters. And the ship. Interesting. I think that your advice, your mental work, I'm not sure how to explain it, but like your intellectual work, your intellectual property was spread around. It was sent to other lands as well. You were in communication with other lands. You were in communication with the divine for sure. But I feel like you were behind the scenes of political decisions as a divine messenger. You were the divine messenger that advised the politicians and the rulers and the people in power. So you guys love to nudge things from behind the scenes. You love to change the trajectory of the wind from behind the scenes. That's what you're really good at. You can change people's lives by having a small conversation with them. And now, finally, I want to ask, what are the lessons that you're learning? How is those past lives connecting to your current one? What are they teaching you? We have Jophia with meditation, and we have Uriel with abundance. I think that the past lives are meant to teach you of how abundant your mind is, how rich your mind is, and how much your mind and your intelligence has helped you throughout many past lives in many different roles and circumstances. You don't have to be a scholar or a scientist for your mind and intelligence to help you. You were a shaman, you were some kind of a diviner, you were a religious figure, a student, but it was your mind, your brains that helped you navigate situations, earn power for yourself, and earn knowledge. So Spirit is saying your most highly prized possession is your mind. You've always used it so sharply, and you've been so good at adapting. Don't give this up and don't underestimate your mind. Alright, Padawan, so this is all I have for you, Padawan. I truly hope you resonated with this. It was so interesting to read your cards. Let me know in the comment section below if you resonated. I would love to read. If you can add anything about your past lives and maybe some things that you've remembered or some things that this reading helped you remember perhaps. So let me know, and thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope I'll see you in my next reading. If you want a personal reading with me, especially an Akashic Records is really good if you want to get to know your soul and your soul's journey. All of my personal information is in the description box below. So thank you again. Like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, and I hope I'll see you next time. Until then, bye. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your reading. If you guys chose the second card, Here and Now, or the visual for this card, the stained glass window that opens and there's light coming through it, this is going to be your reading. So First, I'm going to do a quick intuitive reading of the card and also the visual that we got, and then I'm going to start pulling other cards. So we have the here and now. It says future, past, and you are here. It's written on this little flag. So immediately what I'm getting for you guys is you guys were in your ancient past lives oracles, priests or priestesses, mediums, people who pierced the veil. You had an extraordinary connection with the dead is what I'm getting as well. And yeah, you could channel the past and the future. And this visual that I gave you of the opening window and light coming through it, it felt like a portal from one era into the other. And I feel like many of you were born during this transition from Lemuria to Atlantis, but I think that many of you have significant past lives, ancient past lives in Atlantis as oracles, okay, as high priests or priests, but especially oracles is really coming through. And I'm seeing you on Atlantis doing the kind of work that kept you ungrounded for most of the time. You were very much outside of your body. You were constantly perusing the spiritual planes, and you were constantly interacting with beings from other realms is what I'm getting. It was very difficult for you to ground. Many of you may resonate with black stones or the color black. Black is not just for protection, it's also for grounding. So I think that on a spiritual level, this is something your soul carried over these lives. You really need grounding, okay? You need to feel grounded. That's very important. And I'm getting something about psychic technology. So on Atlantis, it's possible that you worked with beings beyond the earth system, using portals, things like that, in order to communicate with them. I'm getting communication with foreign spiritual beings. And what I'm getting is that your channel is still very open. You've kept it open throughout many lifetimes. You've had many lifetimes where you've had gifts. You would sense things, feel things. I'm picking up on what I would describe as the Victorian era or age. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it. You had a lifetime as a psychic then as well. Or possibly a witch. Alright, now I'm going to use the Sacred Sites Oracle cards, and just as I explained to pile 1, I'll explain to you as well. I'm not focusing particularly on one sacred site. I'm using this deck because there are a large variety of different places and locations. So I'm using this deck because it's very rich in different locations, and we can use it to focus more so on the region, on the area, not necessarily the specific location. So for example, if you get the Giza pyramids, maybe you weren't necessarily incarnated there, but you were incarnated in Egypt, somewhere in Egypt or North Africa, you know. So that's the vibe we're going for with this deck, kind of just to see in which locations you were incarnated. And for sure we're going to take the spiritual messages of these sacred sites in consideration as well. Well, This is interesting, but what I'm picking up on is you've had incarnations on the land. Hold on. I'm getting Asia, I'm getting South Asia. I'm getting like Tibet, that area I'm picking up on. And I'm getting something about the land being connected to Lemuria. It's almost like the spiritual, if realms are overlaid on top of each other but we don't see them, it's almost like the spiritual realm of Lemuria is in Tibet, or like around Tibet. So I'm getting incarnations in the southern area of Asia and maybe Central Asia as well. But it's almost like you weren't necessarily incarnated. We'll see about that, but as of now, I feel like you weren't necessarily incarnated on that land, but it's like the spiritual realm where you were incarnated. Because to me, Lemuria and Atlantis, there could be some physical leftovers of them, but I feel like they were more so different levels of densities and different spiritual realms. And I think that Atlantis bled through within our physical realm, and that's why we may find certain leftovers of it. But Lemuria, I think, was a spiritual domain, fully etheric. And I think that Lemuria is connected to these parts of Asia. At least this is what I'm channeling right now. Or the part of Lemuria where you were are connected to these parts of Asia. It's like this is where the two realms overlap. We have too many cards. I'm not gonna take them. We had like 4 cards. I don't like it when so many flip. Where have you had your ancient incarnations pile to? Potala Palace. Well, this is clearly Asian, but I'm not sure exactly where, so we're going to see. Potala Palace. This is south, so it's in the southern area. Any other places? Because after all, this is a collective reading, so maybe not all of you were reincarnated in those areas. Maybe you had reincarnations in other areas that just have similar themes, and that's why it's a collective reading, because we have overlapping or similar themes and lessons and experiences. So where else was piled to, were piled to reincarnate? Where else were the people of piled to reincarnate? Uluru, I think this is in Australia. I'll have the south again. And we have no freaking way. We have Mount Sinai. I'm reacting this way. Maybe it's a little over dramatic, because when I was thinking about Tibet, I was like also hearing Mount Sinai, but I was not sure if Mount Sinai was somewhere in the eastern or central parts of Asia. I was like, the name sounds low-key Asian, but I'm not sure, because geography is not my strong element, as I mentioned in pile 1 as well. So because of this uncertainty, I kept it to myself. I was like, if it shows up, it shows up. And it did freaking show up. Okay, hold on. And we have the snake twice, here and here. I am a little speechless. The cards do this all the time, and every time I am always surprised. I'm always speechless. I don't know. what to say, honestly. Okay. Sometimes I wish I could have a little screen displaying what's going on in my mind, so you can see that I'm not making it up. But I also don't want anything linked to my brain like that. Nope. So let's see. Okay, Potala Palace. First, I'm gonna read about this one. Potala Palace, Tibet. Yes, I knew it. I knew it. I love it when this happens. So, you guys did have reincarnations in Tibet. The Potala Palace. The energy focuses guardianship. Location, Lhasa, Tibet. The lower world or the past of this location. Look at the eternity knot on the card, a reminder that all is connected, that your life is linked to all life and therefore has meaning. The snow lions on either side of the card ask you to be open to both sides, to both sides of the story. As guardians of the Potala Palace, they repel fear, enabling people to live free of delusions. Your long-held insecurities and sense of loss are coming to the fore. You may be shaping your world negatively through poverty consciousness. Perhaps your belief system has been affected by suffering and loss that occurred in your family's past. During the world wars, for example, you need to find out more about your ancestry in order to understand who you are today. Take courage from the lions to embrace a new hobby or sport and widen your circle of friends. Members of your soul family wait to welcome you with open arms. This is so, so beautiful. So now, hold on. What I was hearing here with the guardians and with like your mind could be affected by fear, negativity, things like that. And the fact that these guardians repel fear and delusions, this really caught my attention. Many of you may have stelliums or just important placements in the 12th house. Things conjuncting the rising from the 12th house, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune in the 12th, placements in the 8th, as well, stelliums in Pisces. Moon in the 6th, Moon in Gemini, Moon in Pisces, Moon in the 12th is big. Because, why am I saying this? We have the mind, so the Moon and Mercury, being affected here from your past lives. Remember I told you still have that channel open because you were channeling constantly in Atlantis and you were coming from a Lemurian reincarnation straight into Atlantis, and I feel like your soul, because you weren't as good as adapting to the new density, you kept yourself very open, and the Atlanteans took advantage of that. They knew back then people would remember their past life, so you knew where you came from, you knew what your gifts were, and you tried to maintain the Lemurian levels of openness and psychic channeling when you were a reincarnated soul in Atlantis. So you were very open, you were communicating with other dimensions and beings from other dimensions and other places in time and space, and beings outside of the solar system. And I feel like being so open left this window, this crack in your mind. And I think that when you started reincarnating, throughout the ages of Earth, right? And things were getting more and more dense, but your mind, something in it remained open. You couldn't handle the density and the open channel at the same time. So it's very possible you are mentally very sensitive. You may easily experience mental breakdowns, emotional breakdowns. You may easily be swayed. Your mental health may be easily swayed in one direction or the other. You may easily fall victim to intrusive thoughts and things like that, because your mind is very, very open. So you guys, Pile 2, you should really work on protecting that crown chakra of yours, and I would even say the soul star chakra, which is outside of the body, right above our head, because I feel like they're too open. They're too open, there are no boundaries. And I feel like in that past life, it was so difficult to tell who you were and when you were. That's why you have the here and now card. I just now realized, because for a psychic, it's so important to be present and grounded so that you don't lose yourself in the spiritual. I feel like it was very difficult for you to define when you were, where you were. So it's possible you had multiple reincarnations where you were in like mental hospices, things like that. Or you were called lunatic or delusional, especially in like, I'm thinking Victorian times or something, especially like more ancient times. Even now, some people think that those who have spiritual abilities are crazy. Imagine what it was like in the past. So I think you've definitely suffered from this ability of yours, and you've suffered of the inability to adapt to new densities. So with the snake here, with snakes I sort of think of parasites, especially, I don't know the full story, I don't remember it anymore, but my father actually taught me about this, that this is a very common, the caduceus with two snakes is very common for pharmacies to use as their mark, like symbol, sign, etc., right? These two snakes were actually, as far as I remember, African parasites, I think. And I think that healers or future, medicine men and women figured out how to get rid of these. There was something about it, but my point is, you can research this if you're curious. I'm so sorry for not remembering. My dad used to tell me about the story like a long time ago. I was very young, so I don't remember anymore fully, but I'm sure it's out there. But whenever I see this symbol, I think of pharmacies, I think of like health, but I also think of parasites. And with the snake here, it's like you, in those past lives, I think you didn't know how to protect yourselves, and ever since then there was this festering spiritual wound that would attract spirits. So you may be very open to the dead talking to you, you may be a medium, you may be a psychic, you may be very open to all sorts of information bleeding into your consciousness, but this is not always a good thing. I know it sounds very fancy to say, oh, I'm psychic, but actually it can be dangerous if you don't know how to maintain that. So I'm seeing that these past lives are crucial to remember, and now that we're working through them, figuring them out, because you still carry that wound, and for most of it will show up in your natal chart. Pluto square opposite moon, that too Neptune in aspects to the moon, that too can indicate this type of psychic wound or open channel that you can control. I'm going to read the rest of this card, okay? I hope you don't mind. These readings are a little bit slower because I'm reading from the guidebooks. The present notions around this sacred site. Have you been forced to walk away without looking back because others decided to claim what was yours for themselves? Perhaps you have actually had to leave a home for financial or marital problems, or maybe you simply abandoned a relationship or other part of your life. From the 7th century, this site was the winter home of the Dalai Lama, until the current Dalai Lama fled to India during the 60s or 50s. During the 50s, late 50s, uprising against Tibet's Chinese rulers. The site's spiritual tradition stretches far back into antiquity. A sacred meditation cave there was used for thousands of years before Songtsan Gampo built the first palace. Today, only a few monks are allowed in the palace, and Tibetan pilgrims are not admitted to the shrines, which are maintained by the government as a state museum. Yet the focus of Tibetan Buddhism on achieving enlightenment enlightenment remains is your quest for your higher purpose threatening others right now. Let this card be a reminder that, like the Dalai Lama, you can attain great wisdom. Your time will come. So what may be happening right now in your life, I know this is supposed to be about past lives, but let's just roll with me. You may be opening up your psychic abilities. You may be wanting to do channeling, do this as a work, as a job. But maybe people around you claim that you're crazy, or maybe people around you claim that this is getting into other aspects of your life. And while I don't want to fall victim of the criticism of others and turn away from your gifts and things like that, I also want to be very practical and logical about this, because this card is coming through to cleanse you from delusions. So is it possible you're delusional about something when it comes to your psychic abilities, or how you're going to use them, how you could use them, how they manifested, what they're telling you? Because the message here right now is you can't trust absolutely everything you channel. Alright, I'm going to now read about Uluru and Mount Sinai, because the big question is when, what, and how did this parasite, spiritual parasite, affect you? When did it affect you? What was the parasite? Like, was the being, what is it? And how did it get into you, and how can you get rid of it? Hold on. There we go. I'm gonna read about Mount Sinai first. The energy focus of this energy sacred site is foundations. Location Sinai, Egypt. Yep, I knew it's not in Asia. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't say Mount Sinai, Asia. My goodness. Lower world past. So this site had a spiritual importance long before the Abrahamic religions staked their claim to it. On the card, the goddess Nephthys, protector of the dead, interesting, is seen witnessing worship to Apis, the bull god of strength, who represented the king's divine transition after death. When the Tau cross on the card is mounted with an oval rule, an ang is formed representing the astrological sign of Taurus, the bull. The ang here is wrapped in a snake, signifying Kundalini awakening. Moses turned a snake into a staff to lead his people out of slavery. Have you ever risked all to ensure your survival, or did your parents, your grandparents, or even earlier ancestors talk to elderly relatives and research your family tree? Your ancestors are your foundation, where you come from. They offer a way of finding out about yourself. Both Potala Palace and Mount Sinai talk about, hey, ask your ancestors about this. So, many of you need to lean into ancestral spiritual practices to cleanse and protect yourselves. And many of you were used and abused for your psychic abilities. Don't let it happen in this lifetime as well. That parasite could be an idea around your psychic abilities, It could be the idea that you should be doing it for anyone and everyone who asks, any time of the day, for free, whenever people please. The parasite could be a thought, a pattern that does not allow you to healthily explore and work with your psychic abilities. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a demonic attachment or anything like this, okay? Parasites can be very subtle, and they don't have to be the end of the world. Don't be scared when you hear that word. Be cautious, but don't be scared. There's no point in that. Today, there is a Greek Orthodox monastery at Sinai, where it is said that Moses, having left his royal life behind, received 2 tablets of stone inscribed with the 10 commandments. Right now, you may feel that things you hold as morally or ethically sacred are being challenged or abused. When people feel like this, it can eventually lead to revolution or fanaticism. Would you ever take such an extreme stance? For others, seeing a corrupt society can lead to apathy and depression. Remember, you have power. You stand on the solid foundation of what you have built and what you believe. Mount Sinai offers you perspective. Heal any rifts with those you should be holding close. Do something today, however small, a text, a call, a letter, to get the relationship back on firm ground. You can rebuild your world, starting with yourself and your family. This is so very interesting. The mention that you could feel like what you hold sacred in terms of morals and ethics is being challenged or abused by others. It feels like when you reincarnated on Atlantis, your psychic abilities were abused because you were forced to work with technologies you didn't agree to. And I see 2 outcomes of this. You either became this psychic who doesn't know how to control their gift, or you blocked yourself and you feel this insistent knocking on the door, because it's almost like it's 2 doors. One is open, so spirit is knocking on that other door that you keep closed and you block it out, but you still hear the knocking, okay? It still bugs you, it tugs at you, you know it's there, you wanna do something about it, but you don't know how, and essentially you're trying to push it away. The other thing that caught my attention was seeing a corrupt society can lead to apathy and depression. I feel like you saw corruption on Atlantis, and ever since then your soul feels like it wants to escape all kinds of authorities. You don't want to be ruled or governed by anyone, which is totally understandable. But Spirit is reminding you to reclaim your magic. Your magic is your own. Your mind is your own. I know your mind has been used for other people's purposes in your past lives, especially that one ancient past life on Atlantis. But you need to claim it back as your own, that it belongs solely to you. Let's read about Uluru. Hold on. Where is it? North, south. Okay. I'm going to find it in a minute. There you go. The energy focus of Uluru is creativity. Location, Northern Territory of Australia. But still it says south because on the map Australia is in the southern in the southern part. Okay. Lower world, past. A creation yourself, you are also designed to create. Be that through artistic expression, by birthing another soul, or by shaping the very world in which you exist. The collection of circles joined by pathways shown on this card represents the evolution and interconnectedness of all things human, animal, mineral, and elemental. Aboriginal Australians believed that before plants, animals, or humans came into being, their souls existed without knowing when they would take physical form. Interesting. The here and now. So you've been in that spiritual realm for a long time, waiting to take physical shape. And when you took physical shape, it was such a shock to your system. People were the last to be created by Rainbow Snake, also known as Old Woman, who pervades all realms. They were made to act as custodians of the natural world and to continue the creative process through dream time. Have you ever given up on a creative talent? Do you remember being told that your work was not good enough? Now is the time to express yourself again, as you will bring joy to those touched by your efforts. And what's happening currently with Uluru? Uluru is believed to have been created during dream time by the spirit people. One Aboriginal story recounts how the ᵖᵱᶜᵏ came down from the mountains to help create the rock. This mirrors the beliefs of geologists that sediment from the ᵗᵱᵜᵏ ranges I can't read, consolidated to form this great rock hundreds of millions of years ago. Okay, so geologists believe that this great rock consolidated millions of years ago. Outside one cave at Uluru that has a number of Aboriginal paintings on its walls are two irregularly shaped stones marking a sacred birthplace. It was believed that the snake woman, Bulari, would assist the labor of any woman who gave birth there. Rainbow snake, whose head looms large in the middle world, is a reminder to care for all creation. When people or animals did wrong, rainbow snake would rush upon them, either drowning them to make bays in the rivers or swallowing them and spitting out their bones to form rocks and hills. Remember that you will reap what you sow today. It feels like these two cards talk about your past life, and this talks about how to deal with the consequences of this past life. And with Uluru, this to me is about, again, indeed, claiming your creative power, claiming your magic. So let's pull more cards. What are the themes, the lessons of your past lives? We have the father figure. So your father lineage, this is maybe where you inherited these psychic abilities from. Or this could be the lineage that tries to suppress them within you now and tries to control it. Authority figures. Interesting. I told you don't like and want to be governed by any authority figures. With the father, this, for some of you, this could be the father of your own children, or you could be a father of children. And due to mental health stuff and like these psychic abilities, things like that, this could have isolated you from your children. But I think you guys, these cards talk about that you witnessed the creation, the beginning of Atlantis, the forefathers of technology that was going to be destructive eventually. And I think many of you feel guilty for participating in those rituals. Greco-Roman. Some of you could have been oracles in ancient Greece, divining the future, the stars, nature. Male, female. I think it was very difficult for you when you reincarnated on Atlantis to choose a more solid, more specified gender and body. Because I feel like on Lemuria, souls were very, very balanced and very, very androgynous. And on Atlantis, there started to be a separation between the two charges, masculine versus feminine. And because we have a mother here, mother creator, a mother creator, the snake, and she would assist like pregnant women, things like that. I feel like many of you associate more strongly with the divine feminine within you, especially when it comes to psychic abilities. You realize that it's the feminine vessel that does this work a little bit better. It's not a coincidence. So many of the oracles and the priestesses were women. So many of the diviners were women. But I'm seeing that you had masculine authorities telling you how to channel, when to channel, what to channel. And I'm sensing a lot of resistance around masculine energy governing your life. But this can be a little bit of a problem, because the purpose of our inner masculine is to protect ourselves, to build walls where we have to be practical and logical where we have to structure things. So I'm seeing that this is an ability you need to reconnect with, because you lost it. What I'm getting in Atlantis and specifically is that I'm seeing you reincarnate as a woman. You were this psychic, this oracle with abilities to pierce the veil, but you had a man or a very logical authority figure that would navigate your psychic experience. So you became psychically dependent on other people figuring things out for you, or other people constructing things, organizing the messages that you were getting. Actually, hold on. Tell me more the ancient Atlantean past lives. The ancient Atlantean past lives. We have the Justice card. It wasn't fair to you. It didn't feel fair to be under someone else's jurisdiction, to be under someone else's rule. This is interesting, but I see that you were blamed for not being able to access certain greater beings and to communicate with them. Like you were blamed for not doing things right or not upkeeping your gift properly. The Magician. You see, I feel like you had many reincarnations where you would be you would have many different occupations. Like in one reincarnation you would be a doctor, in another a writer, a jury, maybe even. Like it would be different professions, but you always had that same common thread about them, that you would use your intuition and your psychic abilities within that job. It was something you couldn't escape from. King King of Wands, and the Queen of Swords. Wow, this is a very, very interesting cards. These are very interesting cards, especially this one. Like, speaking of being able to speak to the dead, this is a very specific card to show up. Here we have the energy of Ma'at, and from Egyptian mythology, the goddess of justice, fairness, truth, harmony. And here we have like the soul leaving the body. I really feel like you were part maybe of some society code that focused on the underworld. I feel like you've had reincarnations, maybe not this Atlantean one, maybe one in ancient Greece, maybe even one in ancient Egypt. To be honest with you, you do have some, I can't explain it, but like certain symbols look to me like they talk about Egypt. You even have the goddess, the Egyptian goddess here. So I'm almost getting this energy of weighing of the heart against Ma'at's feather. I'm getting this journey of the underworld. So I think that some of you in your past lives, you definitely channeled the dead. You were definitely mediums. You were doing seances. But some of you in more ancient past lives, you would be like priests and priestesses, and who had to deal with the literal dead and like sending them on their underworld journey, burial rituals, things like that. This is what I see you engage with. And you know what is interesting? I feel like your soul is so tired of dealing with the dead in the underworld. It really wants to create now. It wants to deal with life. So for many of you, if you have spiritual gifts and you want to develop them, that is great. But I'm getting that your soul calling is more so towards something creative, because you've had way too many lifetimes where you did not live in the physical realm. Even though you were in a physical body, you spent your life living in the spiritual realm. Fire. Fire is the most spiritual element out of all. And it's interesting that it's showing up. You guys need a phoenix rebirth. We have the Sphinx, for real, talking about Egypt. And the staff with the magician. Magical. Yeah, this is about creativity again. And this is about, I always associate the Sphinx with like answering a riddle and protection. So you have a lot of like guardians, protectors. I think that Spirit is trying to protect you from over spiritualizing your life or overly relying on your spiritual abilities. I think Spirit wants to lead you on a more creative path. You will still use your spiritual gift. Trust me, artists are the greatest channelers, writers, painters, musicians. Like, those are really the greatest channelers out there. But I'm getting that you're supposed to be on this artistic path rather than on the psychic medium path. And I think that art can help you heal the spiritual wounds around being forced into doing certain spiritual things that you didn't want to do. Well, pile 2, I think that this is all I have for you guys, so please let me know how this resonated. I'm super curious to read your comments. Let me know if you have any other things that you would add to this reading about your past lives, things that maybe this reading triggered that you remember, or things that you've always known, kind of. So yeah, let me know, because I love these topics and this was very interesting for me to read. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope I'll see you in my next reading as well. And if you want to support the channel, like, share and subscribe. And if you are in need of a personal reading, and if you want to focus on past lives, I really recommend the Akashic Records reading. All of my information is in the description box below. I would love to work with you, and I would love to see you in my next pick a card. Until then, bye. Hello, pile number 3, and welcome to your reading. If you guys chose the card Truth Be Told or the visual with the golden mask, this is your reading. So first I'm going to do an intuitive interpretation of this card and the visual, and then we're going to dive in with other oracle and tarot cards. So for you guys, when I was tuning into this card, the very first thing that really came to me, especially with the golden mask, was strong Leo energy and strong creative artist type of past life. I was getting specifically performative arts, like acting, maybe playing music on stage. I was getting performance, dancing as well, and for some reason I'm really resonating with an Asian lifetime, maybe ancient China, it could be somewhere else as well, but I was seeing like fans, like hand fans, and I was seeing like rose petals and cherry blossom petals, and it really made me think of Asia, and I feel like many of you have been performance artists. So this ancient lifetime is not perhaps as ancient as an Atlantean reincarnation or something like that, but it's still very old. And with the owl, for some reason, I'm getting like two paths, wondering if you should be an intellectual, getting education or something like that, or if you should be an artist. I'm getting that such dilemma started as early as these old past lives, and maybe you still carry this dilemma with yourself. Of course, with the mask, with Truth Be Told, you could have been born during a revolution, when truth information was exposed. You could have been born as well during the Renaissance period, during the boom of science and science becoming more relevant. I'm getting that for some of you, if you were a new exploring scientist, I feel like your scientific experiments were, you tried to use them almost as parlor tricks to impress people so that you could get funded. This is something very specific that I'm getting here as well. You knew how to blend charisma and performance with things that are practical. It's almost like you wanted to trick or manipulate people into caring about actually important things, but you knew it could only be done through entertainment. So many of you guys are entertainers, and you can create, you can turn anything into some form of entertainment and make it interesting for people. Okay, so as I explained to the previous piles, I'm going to be using the Sacred Sites Oracle cards. I'm using this deck because there is a variety of different locations. Now, just because a specific location pops up, it doesn't mean that you were born necessarily at that exact sacred site location, but maybe the region or that country, you know, so we can broaden the perspective here a little bit. But I will still be taking the messages, the spiritual messages that resonate with each of these sacred sites. So let's see, in what regions have you had past lives? For the Renaissance incarnation, I'm getting Spain. But for the older reincarnation, I'm getting Asia, too many cards. Where have you been reincarnated? Pile 3, okay. We have Knossos? Knossos, I think that's how you say it. With the labyrinth. Where have you had reincarnations? You could have been a performance artist in ancient Greece. You could have been an actor. Because this, I know it's a window, but for some reason it looked to me like a theater and like the curtains opening. But of course we could be talking about a more ancient theater as well. Teotihuacan. Okay, this must be South America, but I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see about that. And we have gelling. I have no idea where this is. Hold on. Let's see. First we've got East. The energy focus of Knossos is escape, which we do through entertainment, we escape. Crete, Greece. Okay, the past of this sacred site. The Cretan Minotaur, half man, half bow, was trapped within the labyrinth at Knossos by King Minos. The meandering pattern of the card's depiction of the labyrinth suggests the convulsions of the human brain. Yes, indeed. Your mind can serve you well or allow you to spiral into despair depending on your conditioning. Has stubbornness or suppressed anger caused you great trouble in your past? Even incarceration of some sort. The Minotaur asks you now to reflect on your thinking at that time. Perhaps you were too bull-headed. Maybe you needed to awaken your femininity. The Minoan double axe shown here was used only by women. There it is. During sacrificial rites and the days of bull worship. Thinking about your past now allow these axes to cut away any attachments. You may still have to unsavory situations and emotions like Theseus, who escaped from the Minotaur and found his way out of the labyrinth. You need to seek freedom from your own thoughts about the past. Let's read about the next card, which is in the west. Energy, focus, potential, location near Mexico City, so Central America, and Mexico. So the past, the lower world. The pyramids and underlying tunnels of Teotihuacan were built nearly 2,000 years ago on top of earlier structures of unknown origin. Under the Pyramid of the Sun, a man-made tunnel leads to a cave, regarded as the entrance to 𝔸₂ the sacred underworld. In the Aztec Nahuatl language, I'm sorry, ┸₃₁ means place where the gods were born. Notice the delicately carved mask. Yeah, by the way, I just realized we have 2 masks. And we have this flower here on the head, and we have this the sun symbol or disc turned into a labyrinth on the head of the bull, and we have this flower coin looking like symbol. The delicately carved mask depicted on the card. This mysterious artifact was found buried in the foundations of the Pyramid of the Sun. Masks are worn for protection, disguise, entertainment, and ritual, and have been used for thousands of years to represent the ancestors. What use are your masks to you? Are you pretending to be someone you're not? It's time to walk the avenue of the dead, leaving your false masks behind, and to declare the real you. Meditate on the 4-petaled flower symbol representing the 4 chambers of the Pyramid of the Sun's sacred cave in order to elevate your awareness of your past, present, and future lives. Know that you are on a journey to unify all of your lifetimes and become a complete and creative individual ready to bloom fully as the flowering of the perfect human soul. This is very, very interesting. So with these 2 cards so far, what I'm getting is that in your past incarnation as a performer or an artist, you did feel quite lost or trapped or controlled, like you were some sort of commodity. That could be bought for entertainment, sold for entertainment, used and controlled for entertainment. And I feel like you were passionate about what you were doing, but you also felt like you were someone else's puppet. And that's something you didn't enjoy. So it feels like in your current lifetime today, you've come here to become an artist who reclaims their freedom, who is free to express themselves however they please and see fit. And I think that there is karma here with contracts and like being literal commodity to a company as an artist. I think that you guys are here on this journey to realize that the most precious thing that you could never and should never sell is your soul. And to a degree, I feel like in those past lives you learned how to be a charmer, how to be anything for anyone, just to please them, just to make money, just to make sure that you don't get killed by spoiled rulers and things like that. So you really learn how to wear masks and how to perform very well and to be a charmer, but that's a mask that you're supposed to drop in your current incarnation. Gelling. The energy focus of this place is transition. The location is ┬╗, Denmark. I hope I'm pronouncing the name of the city correctly. Denmark. Lower world, past. On this card, Odin, the god of shamans, is seen riding his 8-legged spirit horse, ┬ʔ who has the ability to venture into the underworld. Another venturing into the underworld. We have it twice. This is interesting. You may have Pluto in the 5th house as well, or Scorpio in the 5th house. You may be very passionate, very intense about art and creation. Your art and creation may be very rooted in occultism, psychology, things like that. So you could have been a shaman, but also a performer. Like you had to learn how to do that. And it's almost like these 2 things blended for you. Maybe the rituals in your cultures were also very performative as well. And you started to mix spirituality with like acting and performance and ritual. I mean, probably many of you have heard of ceremonial magic, where what this magic is highly known for is literally the ceremonies that it requires, the rituals, the specific order of how you do certain things and when you do them. And all of that is a ritual, it's a ceremony. So I think in those past lives you associated your spiritual quests with performance, and I feel like for those of you who want to develop spiritually and access your higher self and things like that, actually acting and the arts are a great way to do that. Odin is one of the first male Aesir gods and the father of many, including Thor, the god of thunder whose hammer was rival to the cross of Christ in medieval Scandinavia. In those days, it was believed that thunderclaps were the sound of mighty Thor using his hammer in anger, and they were respectfully feared, as too was the underworld. Today both are still sometimes feared, but neither are revered. What has caused you to be afraid in the past? Acknowledge your fears. They are no longer welcome on the path you walk. Make a list of your fears. How realistic are they? Have they served any purpose? For example, allowing you to stay within familiar and comforting patterns of behavior. Make the sacrifices that are necessary in order to remove these unwanted companions from your journey. Now, the present. Let's learn about what is relevant about this site now. Contemplate the 2 burial mounds and rune-inscribed stones on the cart. One stone at ┸╗ was dedicated in the 10th century by King Harold, okay, Bluetooth's father. Okay, that's very interesting. Gorm the oath to his wife, Tyra. The other, inscribed by Harold in honor of his parents, describes the Christianization of the Danes. Despite the Christian message, these stones represent the wisdom of the old ways and the secrets of ancient divination still available to us today. Harold's conversion may have been very much for pragmatic reasons. His life brought together pagan and Christian ways of being, as well as considerations of religion versus the practicalities of rulership. In your life, do you need to change from one way of thinking to another? Is there something in your life that you're afraid of bringing into the open? Have you agreed to something that is not your truth? Truth be told, this is interesting. This is where it's getting interesting. Have you agreed to something that is not your truth to protect yourself and others, or to keep the peace? This is a time of transition, of seeing the world from a new perspective. Now, this may sound a little bit intense, but some of you, I feel like, have signed contracts to be performers and artists in ancient times that I think you didn't even realize what you were signing up for. And I feel like these contracts are still affecting you today. We have the crows here, we have messengers. What I'm getting is today you may try to push through certain boundaries when it comes to the performing arts, and it may be very difficult, or you may feel very lost. But the strong message here is, do not sell yourselves, pile 3. About Gnosis. I know we didn't get Asia, China, Japan, or something like that, but I'm still feeling this very strongly for many of you. I'm not gonna lie. I love it when the cards confirm what I channel, but sometimes they don't, and I still rely on the things I've channeled. And the cards simply add more nuance to it. Okay, we've got the 7 of Swords. Or 7 of Keys here. This is about cheating, trying to be sneaky. I really feel like you were tricked. Okay, so what I'm getting here, specifically here with the Mexico card, I'm not gonna pronounce this name because it's too difficult, so I'm gonna say Mexico instead. I feel like you performed to gods, to deities that you really bound yourself to. And it almost feels like each performance of yours, each artistic expression has to be dedicated to some deity or spiritual being in order to be received well. But this is where the deities have deceived you, or spirit has deceived you. I feel like there was a contract here, especially perhaps to the sun god. To perform for him, to be dedicated to him even in the afterlife. But because souls reincarnate, that would mean even in the next reincarnations. So here we have very strong connection with the sun. But we also have a very codependent relationship with deities that might be taking more than what they give. Knight of Cups. Absolutely, the Knight of Cups connects to literally artists, creative outlets and things of that nature. Knight of Cups are charmers. They are playful and flirtatious. So you guys have the golden mask of the sun. You are the golden child, and this is inherited from these past lives where you were dedicated to the sun. Maybe in Greece you were dedicated to Apollo. Maybe you would perform rituals and pray to him before maybe acting as him on stage or something like this. But what I'm getting is a very strong connection to Apollo or other sun gods and beings. But this one specifically, you performed to please this god, and you still carry that mask of like being one. Think of it this way: the sun has dancers, people that dance for him, let's say him. You're one of these dancers, and you still are, but your soul wishes to separate itself and do something different and unique, and something of your own volition, and something of your under your own control. And perhaps you're kind of stuck every time you try to branch out of your of the things you're recognized for, trying to do something new. Maybe you don't get the same amount of recognition. I feel like this type of contract that manipulates you into staying attached to something you're comfortable with, something you know that works, especially because of this contract with the sun god. Because whenever you perform or create in his name, you feed this deity energy. And I'm getting this desire for freedom, liberation. Clarify a bit more about the past life, please. Clarify a bit more about the past life. Many of you, Pile 3, should definitely stay away from alcohol or any intoxicating substances and habits. Smoking too, like, I feel like it's a way in which you pay a tribute to this deity that you're contracted with. We have the Six of Swords, moving on into calmer waters. Okay. Some of you have to sacrifice some great lifestyle, or I think that you had to sacrifice your lifestyle in that ancient lifetime. I feel like you were very high in the social hierarchy, and then you fell very low because you depended, excuse me. I feel like my nose is stuffy and I can't pronounce all words. You depended on other people, on other people paying for you, or you know, hiring you, things like that. But you depended on them in this very almost like spiritual way, because your whole life, I think, was built upon your what you were known for, your reputation. And I feel like at some point that reputation of the great artist, it just died out and you felt very betrayed. So I feel like this is a price you guys decided to agree to pay through the spiritual contract, almost like I agreed to be on top of my game for 5 years and then I agreed to have nothing. So some of you, I'm sensing magic here, really. I'm sensing like ritual, deity work, but not something you've done in this lifetime. You could have, but I'm sensing that this is you could trace this back into your ancient lifetimes, and you swore yourself to certain deities that are very, very greedy, and they're not giving a lot, and they want to take a lot more than what they give. The World card. And you want this to end. Listen, many of you need some kind of ritual or magic that cuts ties with deities you've worked with so far, and not just in this lifetime, but your past lives as well. And the message here is, I highly recommend, do not try to do this on your own. Try to find help. Try to find someone you trust who can do this for you. Three of Cups and Ten of Swords. No, sorry, these are Wands. Ten of Wands, Six of Wands. Oh yeah, you are definitely very famous. Very, very famous, and I feel like you're still chasing that high of being very recognized and very famous. But it's very difficult to be authentic when you chase to be liked by so many people. And as I told you, the fame did not end well. I'm definitely getting betrayal or abandonment after reaching your peak and then falling from that high. Yeah, with the Ten of Swords, with these Three of Cups, it feels like because of these past lives, you know, the journeys of souls are kind of like the brain. When we make something into a habit, when we trace that neural path over and over and over again in our brains, it becomes very easy to slip into it. The experiences of a soul are similar. I think that you've traced that spiritual path of signing a contract with people that you depend on, and then they abandon you at some point, but you were willing to make that sacrifice for the sake of being recognized, seen, famous, etc. It's very easy to slip into the same karmic contract with people, maybe not the same souls, but souls who are willing to do that for you in this lifetime as well. And I feel like many of you might have done this. Maybe you signed up contracts with people that ended up betraying you, stealing money from you, stealing ideas from you. I don't know who or what you're working with, especially for those of you who do practice some kind of magic or deity work, but I feel like if you research a little bit more into the goddess or god that you work with, especially if it's like a sun god, this is what I'm getting here specifically, or a god or goddess of fortune, there is something mischievous about this being. There is almost like, what I'm getting here is, if you were to look this being up and research into him or her, you would find out that they would have a different name in a different culture, and they would be slightly more mischievous or melodramatic, let's say, and they would be slightly more morally gray than you think. So it's almost like, oh yeah, this goddess is great in the Roman pantheon, but when you look things up about her in the Greek mythology, this goddess is not so great. It's almost that vibe that I'm getting here. You need to do cross-cultural references about the deities you work with. I feel like many of you have this potential to be successful, but also to be abused for your success. I'm getting 8th house energy and like shared resources type of energy, manipulation of resources behind the scenes. This is something you experienced firsthand in your past lives. Hold on. Actually, I want to pull from these cards. Love life. Yeah, with the Knight of Cups, you had a wild love life in those ancient past lives, pile 3. Spouse. I feel like many of you married very young. Atlantis. Oh, interesting. Monk or nun. Another thing that I'm getting here is it's possible. Remember how I told you some of you could have had lifetimes in the Renaissance era. Some of you could have been one of the pioneer scientists. I feel like, again, you sacrificed a lot for science and you sacrificed a lot to get your hands onto the right resources of information. I feel like some of you could have literally worked with spirits in order to get scientific information. And that could have been done for some of you during Atlantis as well. It's possible, but for some reason, I'm not being very drawn to investigate an Atlantean past life for you, if I gotta be honest with you. But I am picking up on whether you are an artist or into science, and maybe you're into both today as well, you sacrificed something of spiritual value to get that success or to get that information. And this is a mistake Spirit does not want you to continue making. I'm getting close to this energy of marrying someone with influence, money, resources, and like getting into the right circles through marriage. So this could be another karmic thing that has happened to you in this current lifetime as well. It doesn't mean you married your spouse just because of that, but it's possible that you accessed a lot of these resources through your spouse. And this is again a very 8th house type of experience. So Leo placements in the 8th house are possible, like 8th house being in Leo or something. We have the High Priestess. Yeah, you definitely had your hands on some secrets. I feel like you had a lot of information that you would, because you knew lots of people, and I feel like you would trade that information for something else, for other information or other kinds of resources. Again, this is coming through. We have Six of Cups. You got your hands on many secrets through your spouse. I feel like for some of you, you were the artist, and it was your spouses that did the ritual work, the magic, etc. And you agreed to it from a place of curiosity, excitement, something mysterious that you wanted to dabble into. I really feel like many of you did not know what you were getting into when you did get into it, and it's carried on for lifetimes. How do you free yourselves from this type of contract? How can you be a free performing artist who gets the recognition without having to give back to any deity or spirit? You have the Ace of Cups. Interesting, we have the baptizing. For some of you, it might be literal baptizing, like you may need that for cleansing. For others of you, you just need general cleansing, but I told you, you need to go to a professional who can do this for you. I know this reading was supposed to be about past lives, and some of your past lives did come through, but it feels like these past lives are so relevant for you today that I can't help but focus on the issue at hand. Please go to a professional who can cleanse you, cut your cords. Please do that. We have the Page of Cups. Okay. Look at that. He wants to plant a tree, but the ground is so dry. The soil is so dry. He doesn't have a cup in his hand. He needs that Ace of Cups. So you guys have great ideas, artistic ideas and visions for what you could do, and you know, the type of output you could share with the world, but it's like your environment does not allow you. You need to purify yourselves and your environment spiritually. I'm telling you, it's very important. We have grape. Be careful with hedonistic tendencies. Some of you could have been performers to Dionysus in ancient Greece as well. We have the house, we have ice, and we have castle. It feels like you never owned your personal home. You lived with your spouse, things like that. It's giving strong 8th house energy, South Node and Scorpio energy, where you're not used to building your own abundance, building your own assets, owning your own assets, all right? So in the house and then ice and then castle, I'm getting that it's almost like someone, I swear it, it's almost like someone is putting magic on you, freezing you from turning your house into a castle, growing your business from something small to something big, purchasing that bigger home rather than that smaller one that you don't really want. with the grapes, with the chalices, be careful what you drink and eat when you go visit strangers because there is a party or something. Or someone decided to share food, like, oh, look what I cooked at home. Do you want to take a bite? Like, binding spells can be done in so many ways. I never want to advise to be paranoid, but I just feel it very strongly in your chart. Sorry, in your chart, in your cards, in your reading. My gosh. I've been doing too many astrology charts lately. And even here with visiting the underworld, here and here, remember Persephone? She ate from the pomegranate and she had to remain in the underworld. So with the grape, you ate from the grapes or from the fruits of whatever goddess or god you venerated back then. And now you have to stay bound to them, but this is something you need to free yourselves from. This could also be a partner in a past life, and like the karmic contract is still very present, or it could be even like a partner in your current lifetime, because honestly your past lives are bleeding so much with your current lifetime, pile 3. This could be a partner that made it so that you are so dependent on them. Even after you broke things off, you still feel like you depend on them. You still feel like you owe them things. You still feel like you can't pick yourself back up fully after them. You need to seek a professional, I'm telling you. Any other advice on this? Okay. Transmutation with Archangel Michael. Yes, cutting those cords. Those cords to the crown chakra. This could have been a partner that was also artistic or had similar passions as you, and like you would share ideas, bounce off of each other's ideas, but it feels like they siphoned a lot of your ideas too. You guys, what I'm getting as well here is, in your ancient incarnations, you could have been literally those artists or philosophers whose names were, whose work was stolen, and other people who are now famous for their work actually stole that kind of work. I'm really getting this as well. You have miracles with Metatron. You've been waiting for a miracle to get you out of this stagnation, but the miracle should be you going to a professional that can cleanse your energy and cut your cords and free you. And the other thing that you could be doing is also reclaiming your power from yourself, like become your own god or deity, or your higher self, becoming your own inspiration. Use yourself as inspiration. Do not rely on external spiritual forces. With the High Priestess, tune back into yourselves, okay? Well, pile 3, this is all I have for you. I know this was a little intense, perhaps, for some of you. But still, I'm very, very grateful that you watched until the end. Thank you so much. And I hope this helps you and it resonates and it clarifies things for you, especially if things have been confusing or you don't know why you're going through the things you're going through. And yes, this was a past life reading, but we focused a lot on some present issues that simply connect to your past lives, and I hope you understand that. Thank you again for watching. I really hope to see you in my next pick a card. And if you want a personal reading, all of my information is in the description box below. Like, share, and subscribe to support my channel, and I think that's all I have to say. So until next time, make sure you are here. Bye. Hello, pile number 4, and welcome to your reading. If you guys chose the last card with the thinker, or the visual with the telescope, this is gonna be your reading on your ancient past lives. So I'm going to go into a quick intuitive message channeling about this card and the visual that we got, because I got these visuals on the spot. So I feel like they also carry a message I still have not unpacked. And then we're going to proceed with Oracle and Tarot cards. So for you guys, immediately when I looked upon this card, I got the angelic realm. Many of you are earth angels, reincarnated angelic spirits, or souls that were close to, I want to say, the level of frequency of the angels, but you still decided to keep coming back to earth and do your job, do your, you know, work on your spiritual mission, etc. But I'm getting very, very strong angelic presence here. Another thing that I'm picking up on with the telescope is that you could have definitely been ancient astronomers, astrologers, and also with thinker, you could have been philosophers. So I see that in your past lives you worked in the fields of astronomy, astrology, philosophy. You have an angelic spirit, your earth angels, and there's something about the cubicle structures right here that make me think of, now this is this is not for everyone obviously, but I feel like some of you have had incarnations on earth, but you were not of earth when you came here. These cubicle structures make me think of the future. Of course they make me think of like the ziggurats, ancient past, etc. But they make me think of the future in almost like this futuristic type of more modern architecture. So I feel like you guys might have had reincarnations on Earth in ancient times, but you were not from Earth, okay? You came here, but you were not from here. Especially some of you may have Arcturian starseed origins. And when you came to Earth, you decided that, oh, this is a planet I want to work with, and this is a collective I want to help. Talking about humanity. Now I'm going to be using the Sacred Sites Oracle cards because there's a variety of locations in this Oracle deck, and I love it to, you know, see where you've had these reincarnations on Earth. But just so you know, I am going to consider, of course, the exact location, but your reincarnation could have been in the area of that location. I'm also going to consider the spiritual properties of that location. Where have you had your human reincarnations? I don't know why I'm picking up on islands. And also I'm getting like temples in the forests, like jungles, and there's a temple in the jungle. I'm also picking up on, that's very specific, I'm not sure if it's an island, but I'm picking up on Cambodia. I think it was in Asia. Don't quote me on that. I've said in all previous piles that I'm not really good at geography. I know most famous places, but not all places, so please don't ridicule me in the comments on that. Alright, where have you had reincarnations? On Earth. Ancient reincarnations on Earth. Alright, we have Santiago de Compostela, so Spain. This is very interesting. With the shell, we have some Venus energy coming through. With this cross, for some reason, I don't know why I'm thinking of like the Rosicrucians, because I know this is not their symbol, but the cross has like these leaves. It almost reminds me of a rose for some reason. So yeah, the Rosicrucians here are significant, especially having like thinker, of course, philosophy, wisdom, ancient knowledge you were involved with it in past lives. But I'm very curious about these non-human past lives, to be honest with you. Okay, too many cards, but I'm gonna take this one. We have Jerusalem. And we have Glastonbury. Alright, so we didn't get islands, we didn't get like jungle type of places, but I will listen to my intuition, and I still feel like I've had reincarnations in such places. I'm going to read about these. We're going to go into these, what possible past lives you've had in these regions, alright? But I'm also going to ask about the non-human lifetimes and like these temples that I had visions of in the jungle and so on and so forth. Just be patient, okay? We're gonna get to all the juicy things that come through in this reading, but slowly, so... Alright, first we have the direction of north. Oh, Glastonbury, I'm going to mark this. Santiago de Compostela. The energy focus of this sacred site is reconciliation. It's in Galicia, Spain, the past of the sacred site. This card shows a modern-day pilgrim's passport used on the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James. The scallop shell is the symbol of this legendary pilgrimage, while the dagger cross, there it is, the dagger cross, of St. James represents the Apostles' beheading. Ooh. Several legends associate scallop shells with St. James. In one, a knight fell into the sea and called on the saint for help. When he was finally washed ashore, he was covered in the shells, which had protected him against the harsh rocks. Notice how the grooves in the shell meet at a single point. This represents the various routes pilgrims travel to arrive at the tomb of St. James. Is your soul calling out for you to visit a holy place, including Jerusalem, somewhere sacred or perhaps somewhere special only to you? Or maybe you feel you really need to make the effort to travel to see a certain person face to face. Whether you spend a week or just an afternoon on it, follow your instinct in making your own pilgrimage. You are being pulled to heal the past and find reconciliation for yourself and others. After James' death, his disciples stole his body and put it in a marble sarcophagus, which makes me think of this. I believe this is a covenant. I'm not sure, I need to check. They put the body in the sarcophagus and on a boat bound for 𝔸ℕℚ𝕋 in Spain, where he was buried in secret. Each year, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims make the arduous journey to visit his burial site in the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela. Have you been wondering when your struggles will end? Perhaps you find that the harder you try, the tougher it gets. Your goal is just out of reach. Spend some time now imagining the pilgrimage, the dust, the heat, the rocky path underfoot. This is catching my attention here. It's important. The dust, the heat, the rocky path underfoot. Embrace your awareness and the feeling that you will never reach the end. Then see yourself collapsing with relief and joy at finally succeeding. Revel in your sense of achievement as you enter the magnificent cathedral. Remember that negative feelings such as exhaustion and fear are a part of any challenging journey too. Look at that. St. James is the patron of stars in pilgrimage. So what I'm getting here, especially with the dust, rocky path, heat, I'm getting a planet, a past life. Like, I feel like you came to Earth from this place of dust and rocks and rubble and sand and lifelessness, essentially. And you came to Earth, and I feel like your people worshipped the waters, the oceans, the sea. Maybe that's why I was picking up so much on these islands. Some of you have also had perhaps reincarnations on Mars, because this really makes me think of Mars. I know there were so many other things about the card, but that's the thing. It's like my intuition kind of nitpicks what really stands out and resonates with me, and sort of glosses over the rest. So if you notice that maybe I don't take all of the messages in, that's why. Now let's read about Glastonbury before we go into Jerusalem, because I just happen to have it here marked. Okay, so the energy focus is blossoming. Somerset, England, the past of the sacred site. For hundreds of years, Avalon, the Isle of Enchantment, has been identified with Glastonbury. Named after the demigod Avalok, ruler of the underworld, Avalon was the place from which the dead embarked for the other world. Contemplate the Grail Maiden now as she offers you a cup of holy water, inviting you to take a sip and connect with your inner divine feminine. The Grail was originally sacred to goddess worship, but became entwined with the story of Christ's Last Supper. Joseph of Arimathea, who assisted at Christ's burial, brought such a vessel here, filled with Christ's blood, and buried it at the entrance to the underworld. If you struggled in youth against attempts to educate and culturally condition you, you may benefit from the natural earth powers of the site, which can allow you to absorb information in a different way. It is time, this is also important, absorbing information in a different way. It is time to reawaken your gifts of psychic wisdom and harness them to gain better understanding. Start with the scrying ritual opposite. So what I'm getting is a very old past life. Kind of, these locations, it's possible that that land mass of our current continents that we know of, these land masses, you've traveled these land masses, okay? But what I'm getting here, I'm really being more so drawn to the spiritual messages of the cards rather than the exact locations, because what I'm having visions of is very old reincarnations, very ancient lifetimes during the very ancient time of Earth, and I see as these non-human, perhaps humanoid but not human beings that worship the water. And I see you studying the water, studying the minerals in the water, and studying the blood of humanity. There was something that you needed to figure out for your own world. And remember how I told you I'm picking up on strong angelic energy? Now, angels I often associate with light, heat, flames, fire, heat especially. And what I'm getting here is almost like a fallen angel, like a fallen star, like a fallen spacecraft, if you will, leaving the land to be very dry and burnt. And you sought out water. You sought out to study how life formed here. I feel like you wanted to replicate that on a planet that maybe was ruined, and you wanted to re-terrify it. Wait, terraform it, hold on, not terrify it, my god. Re-terraform it, because the life of it was lost or killed. And for some of you, now, it's, of course, this is based on your belief system, so flow with this message however it resonates. but I cannot help but still pick up on the strong angelic energy, and the only way I can explain it is like maybe you guys were one of those fallen angels, because there is this thirst that I'm sensing here, and water symbolically and esoterically is all about temptation, the pleasures, the desires, the realm of desires basically, and it is desires that drew the angels toward the earth realm. So I think you were very drawn to leave this hot place of light and wisdom to come here. So some of you have this almost like soul genetics, if you will, of the fallen. I'm now going to read about Jerusalem as well. This is what I am so far getting from these cards. This is east, okay, hold on. West. Where is east? Okay, let's find it. There you go, Jerusalem, right here. The energy focus of the sacred site is reverence. Location Israel, yep, most of you probably know that. Lower world, past, focus on the symbol of the Star of David, the six-pointed star that represents unity of opposing forces, the coming together of above and below. Literally, your experience, if you are a fallen angel, you came from the sky to meet the earth, to kind of create a bridge between these two, through exploring humanity as a reincarnated soul. Of the light and the dark. The card also shows Jules at the Wailing Wall, grieving for the temple destroyed over 2,000 years ago. Perhaps they're yearning for full connection with the power of their Lord. Is there something from your past that makes you weep? Is life now not all that it once seemed? Are you unable to identify with the person you have become? To end the inner turmoil, bring your opposing ideas into harmony. It is time to rediscover who you really are. This card reminds you that in truth, nothing is lost. Its energy merely takes another form. Though three religions are in conflict over this one site, the energy of this land precedes them all and will be there long after they are gone. It is never diminished. The reverence you hold for what is lost will sustain you even when that thing or person has passed from your life. Through your daily thoughts, meditations, or prayers, the energetic connection lives on. Zion, as Jerusalem is also known, is the rock, the foundation of which many temples have been built, the place where it is said Moses places the Ark of the Covenant, yes, and where Jesus preached. It was also the destination of Muhammad's miraculous night journey or transportation from Mecca. This is now a place of pilgrimage, again, pilgrims, for the Abrahamic faiths, fueling conflict. Where is the root of chaos in your life? You're being asked to peel back the layers of the religious, spiritual, and cultural beliefs that challenge your fundamental being. Interesting, you have the thinker. So this is almost like your higher self wants you to remember the genetic lineage, the origins of your soul, but it also doesn't want you to limit yourself by overly identifying with those. It wants you to go beyond, because what I'm getting is that the purpose of your human reincarnations was to overcome your identity as an Arcturian being or as an angelic being. It's almost like you need to, that's gonna sound maybe a little dramatic, but your consciousness needs to grow beyond the wisdom that our star can offer you. If you think of the sun as a library, your higher self wanted to grow beyond the wisdom that the Arcturus star could offer you. And then it came here for those of you who resonate with that, because here, after all, it's a collective reading, so some of you will resonate with the fallen angel past life, and some of you will resonate with the Arcturian past life. Or as a fallen angel, you wanted to grow beyond the wisdom of, beyond the limitations that morally righteous wisdom offered you. You wanted to grow beyond that. You wanted to tap into something different. And I feel like your souls have been growing out of this solar system for quite a while now. And I think in many of your past lives, you've contemplated religion, philosophies, things like that, but I see this detached, aloof, very objective outlook on these things. It's interesting that you have ritual of the sun when it comes to Jerusalem. Yeah, this feels like many of you were these really solar beings, angelic beings, that you came to Earth because you felt limited. You were exalted, but you also felt like you couldn't really earn being an exalted being when you were born this way, and it was given to you. So you had to become, so you came here. And for many of you, I see that you reincarnated on Earth because you saw it as a portal. It's almost like, oh, once you pass Earth, many other places open up for you. It's almost like Earth gives you this pass to move beyond the solar system, or like choose new constellations, choose new places, choose new races and life forms, because Earth prepares you for such a diverse, multi-layered experience. Okay, hold on. I'm going to use these cards. So you are pilgrims, okay? You are celestial, universal pilgrims, not just here on Earth, but throughout the universe as well. Voyagers. That's what I would call you. Interesting. I'm hearing mighty voyagers of the third order, and I have no idea what this means, but the third order to me resonates at the frequency of Mercury and like mental agility, mental abilities, communication, the mind, the logic. And again, you have thinkers, so I'm not surprised. Some of you were of a higher civilization, so from different star systems, etc. And I feel like on that star system you didn't have religion because you could scientifically explain so many things, but there was still a higher power that many of you felt like was beyond your reach. And I think you came on Earth to experience what it's like to have this reverence. So for you guys to remember your past lives, to unlock your psychic abilities, your gifts, your potential, remember your purpose, to just generally connect with your higher self, I feel like reverence and like creating and trying to sustain and dwell within that feeling of reverence, this is the key to your spiritual journey and development. For some people, it's meditation, visualization, art, you know, self-expression. It's different for everybody, but for you, it's reverence. Because I feel like that's exactly what you were looking for as this advanced civilization. I feel like you couldn't achieve a next level of your spiritual journey because you didn't see things as spiritual because you could explain them. So you came here to remember that just because you could explain something with your knowledge, your wisdom, does not mean it's not magical. And it does not mean there's no higher power behind it. Authority figures. Have a baby. Yeah, you feel like a baby soul to earth, because those ancient lifetimes, I'm not really certain you've had like a reincarnation every, linear time speaking, every 2-3 centuries. It feels like you've had very ancient lifetimes on Earth, maybe during the time of our current major religions forming, but I feel like really you are part of a older, greater religion here on Earth. And I think then you chose more modern time, like maybe the 20th century or the 19th or now the 21st. I feel like you didn't spend much time in every era and every century or so. I think you came in the very ancient past and now you're here again. Because I'm getting that you tend to spend a lot of time in the spiritual realm between reincarnations, because you study a lot. And for some of you, I know this is about past lives, but I kind of see you right now as someone who, when you spend time between reincarnations, you're part of the spirits that help souls that want to reincarnate on Earth choose their lives and evaluate which life is best for them. Or you're the one who kind of offers them the couple of possibilities, like these are the best fits for you, choose. But you are the one that would select it. I almost feel like this spiritual being that works through a huge amount of data, and you know exactly what would fit each soul during their reincarnations, what circumstances are best for them. The authority figures in the baby, you are the authority figures that decides where do souls reincarnate. So for some reason, pile 4, not just your past lives are important, but also your in-between lives are important. And you need to know. You have forgiveness with the doves. Again, this is like the doves are very close to Christianity, symbolizing Christ, symbolizing messages from God, things like that. So we definitely have religious like notions here, but again, I'm not feeling like it's too obvious. Okay. I feel like we get these, like, of course you have Jerusalem, all the, you know, the Abrahamic religions colliding there. You have this church right here with St. James. You have here with like the cup that collected Christ's blood. All of these like symbolisms, but I feel like they are not indicating directly at religions, but rather they have this underlying meaning of you're discovering spirituality in general. You are discovering what it's like to feel like, oh my gosh, I have this illumination. Oh my gosh, I have these messages from a higher power. Because I think that as a soul from a different celestial species, when you got these messages, it felt like almost like scientific to a degree, like you and your soul were this kind of a machine. And I think this stunted your spiritual growth, so you came to earth to unblock that, to get rid of that idea. Okay, we have knighthood in this one too. Asia. I think those ancient lifetimes that I mentioned on like islands, jungles, temples in the jungles, things like that, having idolizing water, all of that, I think it did happen in Asia. I'm getting specifically Malaysia, and I'm getting that region. Okay, I wish I could pull up a map, honestly. I should bring a map to these readings next time. But I'm getting the most southern parts of Asia, where you have like many different little islands. Yeah, this area is where I'm picking up on like places you explored, land mass that you explored. And of course we have knighthood with the forgiveness. This is giving me, like, because we have the sky and the clouds, it's giving me Knight of Swords energy. Which is about, knights are doers, they do things, and swords is about the mental realm. Which tells me that even coming here and doing spiritual work and things like that, you can't escape from who you are. So you do tend to involve yourself in the type of spiritual work that requires a lot of like logic and intellectual effort to figure things out, connect things. Even in your spiritual position that I mentioned in between lives, you're still doing so much like data analysis. Okay, so you Pile 4 have big spiritual brains. That's how I'm gonna say it. You have big spiritual brains. What do you need to know about your ancient past lives? Who were you? What did you do? What else do you need to know? Clarify, please. Give us more details. Are you freaking kidding me? We have the Six of Swords. Let me show you. Let me show you. We have maps. We have masks indicating religion, faith, anthropology, you know. Different masks, different faiths. And we have a person behind the computer. This is pretty damn on the spot. I love it when cards do that. I love it so much. Okay. And we have the Queen of Wands. And we have the Hanged Man. Alright. Look how he's hanged in water. Suspended in water. And he needs to free himself to get out of it. He has a time frame, right? And we have the Queen of Wands. I want you to follow through on any inspiration that pushes you towards spiritual endeavors, because this will get you out of the realm of the water. For those of you who resonate with the fallen angel past lives, because the realm of the water is the realm of desires, and with the Queen of Wands, many of you are supposed to slowly, of course this is not happening overnight, and this is maybe not happening over the course of one lifetime, but it's done slowly, and you should follow on these impulses and whims But the Queen of Wands inspires to reconnect with fire, to reconnect with gnosis, with fire as the flame of knowledge, right? Some of you might be fascinated yet afraid of the sun. Some of you might be fascinated yet afraid of certain teachings, ideas, philosophies. It's interesting, but you're pushing it away and you're afraid of it. That's a threshold that many of you need to cross. What else do you need to know? We have the King of Keys. Hold on. I have no idea which king this is, by the way. I assume it's the King of Swords, because it's purple, so it must be swords. Or not? Oh, I have no idea. So I am going to... This is supposed to be a tarot deck. The Akashic Tarot, but I'm going to go off intuitively because I don't have time to look this up. Which suit the keys represent. So I'm looking at the red cloak. I'm looking at the sun and the halos of the sun. The double halo of the sun might be important for some of you. You may find it like as a special sign, as a message from the universe. I feel like many of you come from star systems that had two suns, okay? And kings are all about authorities, and keys are about unlocking stuff, right? So, many of you, it's okay to have teachers, and I do sense that there are spiritual beings that want to be your teachers, but again, I'm feeling the sense of like rejecting them or pushing them away or not engaging with them or saying you would and you never do. This is your reminder to allow spiritual teachers in your life. And always be careful with cult leaders, people like that. Any mentality where the teacher becomes the center of attention and like they become a god of like of their own, like be careful with that. But spiritual teachers might be important on your journey, because with the double halo, it's almost like you have one halo and there is this bigger halo behind you of that being who supported you and helped you shine. Many of you will also often see light doing weird things. This is your angels and your angelic teammates showing up for you. We have the, I believe this is the mountain. Mountain, you know what mountain is associated with? Capricorn. And you know what Capricorn is associated with? The disciple. The disciple, the master. Maybe you have major Capricorn placements. That would be very, very indicative, by the way, of an angelic reincarnation here. Or someone who has come to learn a lot spiritually. I know Capricorn is an earth sign, and on the surface level it doesn't seem like they have this spiritual mission, but they do. Especially if you have a Capricorn rising. I'm getting Capricorn and Aquarius placements are big here. One more. and we have the heart. I know you're very gifted, you have big spiritual brains, but you're here on earth to develop your spiritual hearts. Okay? So, pile 4, this is all I have for you. I hope you resonated with this reading because it was so interesting for me to read. Of course, there could be so much more to pull out of these cards, but we have to stay here for hours, so that's all I have, and I'm gonna end it here. I hope you resonated, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you got some clarity and like signs and direction from this reading. Please let me know in the comment section below. I'm very curious because I'm doing one of my favorite topics, which is past lives. So yeah, let me know. I would love to read your comments, and if you want to work with me, all of my personal information is in the description box below. If you want to support the channel, you can always like, share, and subscribe. And I think that's pretty much it. Make sure to come back for my next pick card. Until then, bye.